Hello everybody. Today I am going to talk about the module on approaches to working with children, which is a part of the course on juvenile justice. My name is Dr. K.P. Asha Mukundan. I am a faculty working with Tata Institute of Social Sciences, School of Social Work, Center for Criminology and Justice. The main objective of this module is to help enhance skills of those involved in direct work with children and to be able to understand approaches while working with the children in the JJ system, that is the juvenile justice system. There are many people who work in the juvenile justice system. It involves the police, it involves the probation officers, it involves NGOs, over and above it involves judiciary, it involves lawyers. There are many people who work in this system pro bono as well. And all of these people who are working in the juvenile justice system are working directly or indirectly with children. Working with children and for children also is a big thing. There is a need to understand whether we are working with children or for children. With children means children are our partners in working with us. For children means we are the benefactors and the children are benefiting from what we are providing them with. It is not that working for or working with, there is definitely a difference in the approach when we work with these two different concepts. No concept is good or bad, and in today's session we need to understand that whatever approaches that we are talking about, every approach is relevant and there is no approach that is not relevant. Approaches just change with different working scenarios, with different context, and we have to just be aware of the kind of context and the kind of approach that we are using in the different kind of context. Many of the people while working with children are just not aware of the approach that they use while working with children. And for this module, I will be constantly talking about working with children and not working for children. Juvenile justice system is a part of the larger criminal justice system where there is a need for various stakeholders to interface with still multiple stakeholders with the one objective of rehabilitation of children. The impact created by interfacing or working with system depends on the perspective one holds on the issue, which in turn influences the approaches of working with children. Approaches are the result of a belief system that we grow with. Belief systems are learned, are socially learned. If we have to talk about the two categories of children in the juvenile justice system, one is the children in need of care and protection and the other is the children in conflict with law. The moment we talk about a child who is in need of care and protection, there is a facial expression that changes because we connect a child in need of care and protection as a person who is a victim. A victim is somehow manages to get a sense of sympathy, empathy from the person who is listening to the word of children in need of care and protection. They are also in short called CNCP children. When we talk about children in conflict with law, the facial expression kind of changes. They are seen as people who have really committed serious offences and not worthy of any kind of empathy or sympathy by any people. This kind of a belief system that we hold changes our perspective, and when our perspective changes, the way we deal or where we approach with working with these children changes automatically. Many of the times we are not even aware that these approaches of working with children change when our perspective changes. Different perspectives, like we said, approaches are the result of a belief in certain ideology, perspective, theory, social condition or past experiences which forms a part of the individual's personality and directly impacts the working in the field. Not every social worker is aware of the approaches that one uses. Approaching understanding approaches somewhere helps a person work and connect with children, and connecting with children while working with the juvenile justice system is very, very important. It's just as simple as when we are working as parents also, when we are working with children, when we are working with our own children, we first have to really build up a lot of rapport and understanding with our own children before they can be receptive of what we tell them or what we have to offer to them. When we are working in a JJ system, the first question that we need to ask ourselves is, when do we offer help and what is our intention, or why am I doing what am I doing? If one finds an answer to this kind of question, then one is able to understand the perspective and approach with which one is trying to work with. Am I doing this out of sympathy, or am I doing this because I genuinely believe in working with these children? Because I believe that these children deserve better, or I have time and these children are accessible to work with. So am I doing it for my own time pass, or am I doing it because I genuinely want to work with these children? These kinds of answers to these kinds of questions, when asked, will give you answers which will also tell you what your perspective is about looking at children, and that again, like I said, will determine the approach with which you work. There are different approaches, and like I said, approaches depend on the perspective that we hold or the perspective with which we see the entire scenario. Perspective is the view of the world, and the view of the world cannot be a total view, it is always a partial view. If one has to give it in terms of an example, a child in prostitution. If the moment you look at a child who is in prostitution, if you look at it from an economist point of view, they would interpret the entire situation as a result of economic failure in society to secure livelihood for all. That could be their explanation to why there is the incurrence of child prostitution. If you look at it from a sociological point of view or from a sociologist point of view, they would turn around and say that it's a failure of community to protect childhood. If you look at it from a legal point of view, maybe people would interpret to say that law and order menace really requires legal intervention. If you look at it from a common person's viewpoint, and every common person also has a perspective which are again influenced by various aspects like our own culture, community, upbringing, education, media influence, all these factors influence a person's mindset. And another explanation that could be given is it's the breakdown of the moral values in the community, and this may influence the way one works with a child who is in prostitution. So it's very important for us to understand what is the perspective that we hold when we work with children, and what is the approach that we are using while working with children. It matters a lot. It matters because it helps us connect with a child, and connecting with a child is very important for the process of rehabilitation. The field of social development recognizes three major approaches to dealing with or working with children. The first is the charity approach, the second is the needs-based approach, and third is the rights-based approach. This module is going to look at these three approaches in a detailed manner. What do we understand by charity approach? We all have heard a lot about charity approach. Do we do charity when every time we go on the streets, we find somebody begging? How do you look at the person who is begging? Do you look at the person with sympathy? Do you look at the person as menace? Or do you just close your eyes and then just give money? Charity has always been there in the history of social work, and most of the work even in social work can be traced back into charity. But before I get into elaborating on charity, I would still like to further break down the approaches into sub approaches. So after charity, like I said, is the needs-based approach. Needs-based approach are of two kinds. One is the welfare approach and one is the development approach. Similarly, rights-based approach is divided back into rights-based participatory approach. The charity approach is based on the assumption that philanthropists or the donors, who are better known as donors, knew the needs of poor and would satisfy those needs through generous ways by providing with money, food, clothing. So every time you have old clothes at home and you want to give it away, what are you doing? You're giving charity. You're giving it not because the person in front requires clothes, it's because you have enough clothes and you want to do a good deed by giving clothes away. Similarly, if you go to many of the homes for children, for old age, different kinds of residential institutions for vulnerable people, you will find that there are lots of people who end up going there when there is a birthday, when there is a death, when there is an anniversary, joyous occasions, sad occasions. Everybody will go into these institutions and provide them with either food, clothing, any other money. These kinds of things are given to the institution. When one does this kind of charity, how many people actually go first, do some kind of a base level work before they do such kind of donations? The base level work involves going to the institution, finding out what exactly does the institution require. Do they require clothes, or is it that just because you want to give something you give them? Do you give them food? And most of the times food is given. And there are some auspicious occasions where the institutions end up getting so much of food that they do not know what to do with it. On joyous occasions, there are some occasions where, like festive occasions, where so many sweets are given in children's institutions, and one really cannot feed children with so much of sweets. But since you want to give charity and you want to give the same, everyone ends up going and giving sweets to that institution, and the institution really does not know what to do with it. This is a very much of a charity approach. Charity approach again talks about my needs as a donor, what I feel good about giving food. It's more like a ticket to heaven. They say you do a lot of charity work and you get a ticket to heaven. So many people in this whole lush to get a ticket to heaven do a lot of charity work. Charity also involves donation of money, food, clothing, shelter, medical care to alleviate immediate suffering. It's not a long term, it's not on a long term basis, it's more on a now and short term basis. There is no commitment to the cause. It is about giving something and forgetting about it. Since it does not address the real needs of the child, it was increasingly felt to have a need-based approach to work towards welfare of children. So this entire journey from which we are going to cover today is from charity to needs-based. From needs-based, under the needs-based we are going to talk about welfare. Under welfare and development, we are going to talk of, after welfare and development, we are going to talk about rights-based, and under rights-based, like I said, we are going to talk about rights-based participatory approach. This is a journey that has been transited over a number of years. This journey is a wonderful journey, and even when we say that when we are transiting a long journey, it does not mean that from a charity approach, when we go to a welfaristic approach or from a needs-based approach, we are throwing charity away. No, charity approach is not that, like I said in the start, there is nothing like a good approach or a bad approach. All approaches are relevant in certain situations. Coming to needs-based approach. Not much is written about needs-based approach, but there is a lot of literature on social welfare approach if one has to go through literature. However, there is a similarity in both the approaches. Both of them focus on needs of the community. unlike in charity where one was not looking at the community, in the needs based approach one is definitely looking at what is the need of the community. And in this case, since this module is looking at children, we are going to talk about children. The delivery of service does not mandate much of individual participation. Also, it focuses more on the well-being of the group rather than the individual. So, they are looking at what does the institution where the children stay require rather than asking what does the individual require. So, that individualistic approach does not somewhere seem to be there. Here we try to, we are looking at the whole Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that is very well documented, and if for more details one can always browse through the net, because there is enough of information that is given in the net on hierarchy of needs by Maslow. To just briefly mention the list, just briefly list out the hierarchy of needs. First is the psychological or the survival needs, that is nourishment, rest, sex and warmth. Safety needs, preservation of life and sense of security. Belongingness needs, be part of a group and to love and to be loved. Esteem needs, approval, respect, acceptance, appreciation, etc. Self-actualization need, to be able to fulfill our fullest potential. So, this is a hierarchy that we need to keep going through. Those needs hold true not for all individuals. So, this hierarchical needs that one is talking about is not limited to adults alone, but it is also applicable for children. We just spoke about the charity approach, and now we shall talk about the welfare approach. The welfare approach stemmed from the charity approach, where it was increasingly felt that services should be provided as per the need of the children and not as per the convenience of the service provider. Services here were based on an understanding of communal identity and the whole of a community rather than being individual focused, and we just discussed that when we were speaking about the need based approach. For example, all children, if you look at an institutional setting, there is a basic understanding that all children require, the basic rights of the children are food, clothing, shelter, and now of course there is education that has been included on this list. Children are provided with food, but when it comes with a welfare approach, they are all provided the same kind of food for across different ages and across different sex or gender. The reason being that one does not look at individual needs of children when it comes to such approach. Generally, when you look at an institutional setting, you find that majority of the institutional setting function from a welfare approach. Everyone is given the same kind of uniform or a dress to wear, irrespective of their age also. You find small children wearing big clothes, big children wearing tight clothes, small children wearing very small clothes, because all these clothes are bought on a wholesale basis and they are all provided with the same color, same dress, same style, and one looks at it as a basic clothing and not as clothes being an identity of an individual. So, this is where the welfare approach has its limitation. Similarly, food is given to all children, irrespective of whether some children have more needs to have different kinds of food. It's just about you be happy, I am giving you food to eat, and many of us even must have heard this when parents tell us in very light vein saying that be happy, you have food to eat. Basically, this is something that we call a welfare approach, and like I said, it's very predominantly seen in an institutional setting where caretakers or caregivers keep telling children that you eat what you get because you be happy. Had you been on the streets, you would not have even got this. This is what is called a welfare approach. So, it's about take it or leave it. Food, clothing and even shelter. Shelter, it's again children are given a space to stay, and whatever the institution can provide is provided to them. They have a space to sleep, they have a toilet, they have a bathroom, and everyone limits themselves to just basic necessities. Now, if we have to contrast this with the children who are living in our homes, do we have a welfaristic approach? No. We go all out to ensure that children get what they want as per their needs. So, even if we are not capable sometimes of providing them, most of the times we do make an effort to ensure that children in our homes do get what they need. So, we at home do not follow a welfaristic approach, but an institutional setting. It is about what is the purpose of having a water bottle. Just take the water bottle and go. This is what is the welfaristic approach. Over a period of time, people started feeling that maybe, like how they felt that the charity approach is not an appropriate, or maybe not such a very healthy approach to work with children, and that is how one got into a needs based approach, and then from a needs based one looked at it from a welfare model. They felt that maybe a welfare model also is not such a good approach when it comes to working with children. The other option then one looked at is, why is a needs based or a welfare approach not so appropriate? And when I keep saying appropriate, the audience needs to keep this in mind, that every approach will be appropriate at a certain context. But when it comes to a welfare approach, we are only looking at what is the need of the child. We go to a development approach, and in a development approach, what one talks about is, you have a need, but that need has to be in context with your age, your gender, the community in which you live. All these things matter when you are talking about a developmental approach. A developmental approach stemmed out from the welfare approach, where it was increasingly felt that children were not a homogeneous group, but a heterogeneous group, and their needs varied in these groups. In developmental approach, we think and speak of children with difficulties rather than address the children as difficult children. We do not look at children as a homogeneous group as mentioned earlier, but we look at the individual needs of children. So, it is not about providing children just with food, but it is also saying that maybe a 3-year-old child requires food of so much calories, a girl requires so many calories, a boy requires so many calories. So, we are looking at the individual needs of a group. We are looking at it from an age, we are looking at it from a developmental perspective, because it is understood that it is just not about giving food or any kind of food, but it is also important to give the right calories, right quantity, and right nutritional value of food. That is what one calls welfaristic approach. In the developmental approach, children are given food as per the nutritional value required for growth across different age and sex. So, from charity approach to needs based approach, and under needs based approach we spoke about the welfare approach and the developmental approach. All these approaches have evolved over a period of time, and after the whole developmental approach, which it is not after the developmental approach, but in this whole developmental approach, one started talking about the rights based approach, because one felt that it is not just sufficient to talk about development of children and giving them the right kind of food with the right kind of nutrition, but it is also important to look at the aspect of taste and ask children what is the kind of food they would like to eat, what is the kind of, so every food has its own nutritional value, and it is not just sufficient to just give food of nutritional value, but it is also important to give food which the children like. And that kind of concept, when that kind of thinking evolved over a period of time, one was talking of in terms of a rights based approach. Child rights have stemmed from the larger human rights. The paradox shift from the needs based approach to rights based approach is the realization that children are key actors in their own development rather than passive recipients. And this fact has over a period of time embalmed into the minds of the people, and people are trying to make this shift in approach of working with children. Although this shift in approach is a very difficult shift to make, and people are still struggling with making the shift. It's very easy to talk about child rights, but when one talks about child rights and one starts talking about child rights based participatory approach, then where does participation start and where does participation end? That question continues to remain a big question. The concept of child participation derives from international standards, in particular the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Article 12 of the Convention provides for the right of the child to be heard and to have his or her views taken into account. This concept about taking views of the child and asking the child's opinion, is a concept which adults have still to get used to, especially in the Indian context. Understanding child participation has been a challenge because many a times in the name of child participation, what we end up doing is tokenism. We use children for display, we use children for various other activities which we call participation. For example, if there is a chief guest to come, then we involve children in giving the chief guest flowers. We call that child participation. If there is somebody, if there is a program or an event, we use children for the inaugural session. Many a times people fail to see that these children who are on the inaugural session wait for hours together in the sun or outside, hungry, just waiting for the inaugural session to start and get over with. This, however, is projected as participation of children. But this is not what child participation is all about. Child participation means involving children in their own developmental activities, asking them questions or making them partners about their own life decisions. How many of us actually ask our children what they want to do in future? That is what child participation is, sitting with the child and talking and discussing with the child on how one takes the future of the child forward. When it comes to people like people from families, most of the families do ask children about what they like and what their preferences are. But when it comes to children who are vulnerable, one does not involve them in a lot of questions. The Juvenile Justice Act, the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015 has contemplated that every children's institution should have something called a child committee. The whole idea of having a children's committee or a child committee is to ensure that children are party or participants in the process of running an institution. The children are supposed to take decisions regarding the kind of food they would like to eat, the kind of food that is being cooked, the menu, the routine of the institution, and many such things have to be discussed by the staff with the children before decisions are taken. But does this really happen in true sense? Maybe in some institutions it does, and that is where understanding child participation is very important. People are very scared to involve the participation of children for various reasons. Some people feel that what if they ask for the sky and we are not able to give them the sky? But children are not really unreasonable. If one sits with a child and explains the child the context in which one is living or one is currently prevailing, children can be reasonable. Not only reasonable, sometimes children can be really mature enough to understand the scenario and make very decent decisions in life. The whole question, there are many debates that go across when we talk of child participation. There are children who sometimes run away from home. Children run away from home for various reasons. Some children run away from home really because the situation in the house is very difficult. Whereas in some cases children run away from home because they are either scared that their parents might beat them given their kind of academic performance they had, or for various other reasons. Now here one talks about child rights. So what do? Do we give the child a choice to decide whether they want to stay with their family or do they want to reside in a children's institution? All this all this talk about child rights and child participation involves a lot of discussion, discourse that one has to have with the child. And for that, one has to treat a child as a human being and not just as a recipient of services. But somehow, when it comes to children, we always end up taking them for granted. We end up taking decisions for them. We feel we know the best according to us. The children may not be so good in taking decisions for them. Hence, the whole concept of child participation, child rights and participations is still a process that one is struggling with in this even in this 21st century. So, if one is trying to sum up this entire process, one is talking about, I repeat, one is talking about the charity approach, the needs based approach. Under the needs based approach, one spoke about the welfare approach, developmental approach, right. Then we spoke about the rights based approach, and under the rights based approach came the rights based participatory approach. As I have been repeatedly saying throughout my module, no approach is good or bad. Every approach has its relevance in the context that it is being used at. For example, if one is talking about a scenario where there is a drought or where there is some kind of flood or there is an emergency crisis, what approach would you use while working with people there? One may end up using charity approach, because at that time one is providing them with food, clothing and shelter, and one is not looking at what kind of food they require, what kind of clothes they require, because this is definitely a crisis that one is talking about. So, when there is flood, when there is riots, when there are man-made disaster, the first thing that people need is food, and one is not looking at that point of time at the nutritional level of food. One provides them with food, clothing and shelter. Then comes to the second level where so if one is looking at it in that context, charity approach may be the right approach when one is talking about in a crisis, crisis scenario. But when one talks about needs based approach, then maybe a needs based approach also may be relevant in a certain context where one has just limited and one is providing children or providing people with certain kind of facilities. However, the developmental approach is what we are currently in. Even if we, although we would like to say that we are in a rights based approach, but if we look around and if we look at our working style, we are usually in the developmental approach where we know what is good for the children, that is how we function from, that is what our understanding is from. And based on our understanding, we provide children with certain facilities, and when we provide these facilities, we do look into their individualistic needs as well. So, in this context, it's more like a developmental need. Child rights participation is something that we are still struggling with. It will take us a long way to still get used to this concept of making children partners in decision making. As adults, even today adults struggle with decision making. So, when adults are struggling with decision making and taking decisions for children, making children partners in decision making can be extremely threatening for the adults and not for the children so much. So, approaches basically are the reflection of one's perception and attitude held on a particular issue. How we look at a child determines on how we will approach a child. If we feel sympathetic towards a child, our approach towards the child changes. And this approach not only will be relevant in the way we function with them, but also in our tone, in our behavior, our non-verbal clues. All these kinds of functioning, all these kinds of behaviorism and mannerism will reflect based on our perception of the children that we are working with. So, if it is children in need of care and protection, we may end up being sympathetic and nice, and we may even give them a smile. But when it comes to a children and when it comes to a person in conflict with law, maybe there would be a frown on our face and we may not treat them so well. Little knowing that the person whom we are considering a person in conflict with law may just be a person who is a victim of circumstances rather than a perpetrator of crime. When we feel sympathetic to a child, then the way we interact with the child also differs. There are so many public debates that are happening today, where there are children who are being abused, there are women who are being abused, and when the child is abused, the first thing that one looks at is not at the accused, but they look at the profile of the victim. They see what was the victim wearing, why was she wearing what she was wearing, why was she at that place where the accused was, and there are lots of questions that are asked on the victim before one focuses their attention on the accused. So, if they find that the victim was wearing clothes which were a bit revealing, or the victim was alone, or the victim was with a friend who was of a different sex, then the way the one person looks at the victim, the attitude changes, the way one treats that victim changes. However, when it comes to an accused, similarly it is looked at from a different light. Even a person, when a child is abused by their own family, one looks at why, one does not ask why the family treated the child in that manner. One looks at what did the child do, that child deserved that kind of a treatment, or did the child not deserve that kind of treatment. So, that would determine how one would treat that child, whether one would look at the child with sympathy or one would look at the child with contempt. Even when it comes to children in conflict with law, the same rule applies. Not all children who are in conflict with law are perpetrators of crime. Many of them may just be victims of circumstances. We had a case where we had a boy who was a tribal boy who lived in a tribal village in a very remote interior place. Now, most of the families in that tribal village used to hunt birds and they used to eat the birds. It was out of sheer necessity that they used to hunt birds and eat those birds. The boy, just like any other day, went to the forest, hunted a bird and ate the bird. He got booked under the Wildlife Protection Act. Little did the boy know that he had actually killed a very rare species. The boy was caught in the police station and he was crying and he was crying, but everybody looked at him as a person in conflict with law. Nobody knew what was the offense that he had done. When as social workers we started talking to him, we realized that he was not much of a conflict with law, rather a victim of circumstances, because he was hungry and he ate a bird. Now, how will you look at the boy like this? How will you now approach the situation? Perceptions change approaches, and it is very important for us to realize what is the perception that we hold on a particular issue or on a particular subject. Like no approach is right or wrong, similarly no perception is right or wrong. They all depend on the upbringing in which we come up with. There is a lot of information about approaches and perspectives and working with children available online. This module has given a little bit of details on these approaches. So, if all the viewers are requested to read the content further, and also the references for the same are mentioned in the module. Please do go through the references for further details, and there is a whole lot of information available online. For those who want to work further with children, it's always good to know more about approaches of working with children. There's a lot of information about how to work with children and the various approaches of working with children online. Besides that, we have also put in a lot of reference material with this module. Do refer to this module in order to help you develop your skills to work with children. Thank you.